Now, moving on to the Bluetooth technology. As our world has grown increasingly connected, we have adopted many technologies that help us to stay in contact with our friends and families. One of the most popular is Bluetooth technology, which can be found in many of the devices we use every day. The wireless technology connects mice and keyboards to our computers. It connects our phones to our cars to catch up on the latest podcasts during our morning commutes and our smartwatches and activity trackers to our smartphones. When any two devices need to communicate with each other, they have to agree on a number of points before the conversation can begin. The first point of agreement is physical. That is, will they talk over a wire network or using the wireless signal? If they use wires, how many of them are required? 1, 2, 8 or 25? Once the physical attributes are decided, several more questions arise. That is, how much data will be sent at a time? For instance, if a serial port sends one bit at a time, while the parallel ports can send several bits at once, how will they speak to each other? All of the parties in an electronic discussion needs to know what the bit mean and whether the message they receive is the same message they have sent. This means that developing a set of commands and response known as the protocols. That is, when the first thing that we decide is whether we will be communicating wirelessly or using the wired commands. Now, after that, the other questions that arises are how much data will be sent at a time. That is, each of the ports that we have, like a serial port will be sending one bit at a time, while the parallel ports will be sending several bits at once. So the next question is how many bits will be sent at a time. Then how will they speak to each other? That is, all the parties in the electronic discussion need to know what the bit means and whether the message they receive is the same that they send. That is, we need to create certain protocols which the the devices that are connected wirelessly would need to follow. So, Bluetooth technology is a short-range wireless communication technology to replace the cables connecting the electronic devices, allowing a person to have a phone conversation via a headset. It uses wireless mouse and synchronizes information from a mobile phone to a PC, all using the same core system. The Bluetooth RF transceiver, that is the Bluetooth radio frequency transceiver, operates in the unlicensed ISM band centered at 2.4 GHz. It is the same frequency that is used by the microwave and Wi-Fi. The core system employs a frequency hopping transceiver to combat the interference and fading. Whenever with no physical connections required, the Bluetooth Special Interest Group, that is SIG, it created a wireless technology standard for hardware manufacturers to use when they create a new device. As the technology evolved, wireless communication technology thus to enhance at the time of and hence there are two Bluetooth technology standards that the developers uses to keep us connected. Although similar, there are subtle differences that make them useful for different applications. So, Bluetooth devices are managed using an RF topology known as a star topology. All the devices that are connected via Bluetooth will be having a star topology. A group of devices synchronized in this fashion forms a piconet. That is, whenever a number of devices that connect to each other using the Bluetooth, that group is called, or that topology is called a piconet. It contains a master and up to 7 active slaves. That is, a piconet will have one master and 7 active slaves, with additional slaves that are not actively participating in the network. That is, we can connect more slaves in it, but they will not be actively participating. So, at a time, there will be one master and up to 7 slaves. A given device may also be a part of one or more piconet, either a master or a slave. That is, there is a possibility that there can be more than one piconets. and a group of piconet is called a scatternet. Now, it is also possible that one device can be a part of one piconet or it can be a part of more piconet, and it can also be a master or a slave, anything. In a piconet, the physical radio channel is shared by a group of devices that are synchronized to a common clock and frequency hopping pattern, with the master device that will be providing the synchronization reference. That is, the master device over here in the network, it will provide the synchronization reference, and they will be synchronized to a common clock. That is, all the devices that are connected and the master that we have, all of them will be synchronized to a common clock and a common frequency hopping pattern, so that all of them can work in a same manner. Although many think of the Bluetooth primarily as a short-range technology, it can also be used to connect the devices more than a kilometer apart. That is, it may be possible that you want to connect the devices that are kilometers apart, and for that also you can use a Bluetooth, but you need to connect them in that manner. In fact, many types of the products, such as the wireless headphones, requires the device communication range to be short. But because the Bluetooth technology is very flexible and can be configured to the needs of the application, manufacturers can adjust the Bluetooth settings on their devices to achieve the range they need, while at the same time maximizing the battery life and achieving the best quality of signal. Now, this is some kind of a Bluetooth network architecture. Here there is a device that will be working as a master, and the other devices that are connected to it will be working as a slave. Now, here this device, the master over here, the laptop that we have is a master, but the phone that is connected to it is a slave for that piconet. But again, it is connected to other devices, so it will be a master for the other two variables that we have. So this way, a device can be a slave to some particular piconet, but it can be a master to another. This way, the whole architecture is defined in a Bluetooth. Now, there are several factors that affect the range of the Bluetooth devices. The first one is the radio spectrum. The Bluetooth technology's frequency band makes it a good choice for wireless communication. That is, the radio frequency that we have, the spectrum that we have is very suitable, and hence it makes a good choice for all the wireless communication. The physical layer. This defines some kind of key aspects of how the radio is used to transmit and receive the data, such as the data rate, how the error detection and correction is performed, interference protection, and the other techniques that influence the signal clarity over different ranges. Receiver sensitivity. Receiver sensitivity measures the minimum signal strength at which a receiver can still receive and correctly decode the data. The transmission power. As you may expect, the higher the transmitted signal strength, the longer the range that can be achieved. But increasing the transmission power will also deplete your battery faster. The next is the antenna gain. Antenna gain specifies essentially this is a changing electrical signal from the transmitter to the radio waves and back again on the receiving end. And the last one is path loss. Several factors may weaken the signal, including the distance, humidity, and the medium through which it travels, such as the wood, concrete, or metal. Hence, it can lead to path loss. So, path loss is also a factor that affects the range of the Bluetooth devices. Now, let's say that a master device is your mobile phone. All the other devices in your piconet are known as the slaves. Now, this could include your headsets, GPS receiver, MP3 player, car stereo, and so on. Devices in a piconet uses a specific frequency hopping pattern which is algorithmically determined by the master device. The basic hopping pattern is a pseudo-random ordering of the 79 frequencies in the ISM band. The hopping pattern may be adapted to exclude a portion of the frequencies that are used by the interfering devices. The adaptive hopping technique improves the Bluetooth technology's coexistence with the static ISM systems such as the Wi-Fi network, when they are located in the vicinity of a piconet. The physical channel is subdivided into time units such as the slots. Now here the physical channel or the wireless link that we have is further divided into different time slots. Now data is transmitted between the Bluetooth enabled devices in the packets that are positioned in these slots. Frequency hopping takes place between the transmission or the reception of the packet, so the packets that make up one transmission may be sent over the different frequencies within the ISM band. That is, frequency hopping takes place, so a packet that is transmitted over once can be again transmitted over the different frequencies in the ISM band. The physical channel is also used as a transport for one or more logical links that supports the synchronization and asynchronous traffic as well as the broadcast traffic. Each type of link that has a specific use. Now, say for example, synchronous traffic. The synchronous traffic that we have is used to carry the hands-free audio data, while the asynchronous traffic may carry other forms of data that can withstand more variability in the timing for delivery, such as the printing of a file or synchronizing your calendar between your phone and computer. Now here, one of the complexity that often is associated with a wireless technology is the process of connecting the wireless devices. That is, how can you connect the wireless devices is an important aspect. Users may have become accustomed to the process of connecting the wired devices by plugging one end of a cable into a device and the other to the complementary device. But for a wireless technology, it is the change. Bluetooth technology uses the principle of device inquiry and inquiry scanning. What does this mean? Scanning device listen is on the known frequency for the devices that are actively inquiring. When an inquiry is required, the scanning device sends a response with the information needed for the inquiry device to determine and display the nature of the device that has recognized its signal. That is, an inquiry is requested, and based on that, the recognized signal will answer. Let us say that you want to wirelessly print a picture from your mobile phone to a nearby printer. Now, say in this case, you can go to the picture on your phone and select the print as an option for sending that picture. The phone would begin searching for the device in the area. The printer, that is the scanning device over here, it would respond to the inquiry and as a result would appear on the phone as an available printing device. That is, whenever you start your Bluetooth, it will scan the devices that are available in the nearby area. So the same way. Now by responding, the printer is ready to accept the connection. All the devices that will be listed in the nearby list, they all will be ready to accept the connection. When you select the Bluetooth wireless printer, the printing process kicks off by establishing a connection at a successively higher layer of the Bluetooth protocol stack, that is, control the printing function. Now, because of this, what happens is the list of the devices that you see on the nearby devices of a Bluetooth, you can select a particular device and hence you can transmit the data, and so in this way the devices would be connected via Bluetooth and further processes can be done. So like any successful technology, all of this complexity goes on without the user being aware of anything more than the task he or she is trying to complete. That is, Bluetooth is again a complex technology. I mean, the complexity goes on in its own manner, but the user is not aware about it. He or she is only knowing the process of how to use that thing. Now, he or she is trying to complete or like connecting the devices and taking the hands-free or listening to the high-quality stereo music. That is, we as a user only do the things like connecting the devices and listening to the music, but actually Bluetooth works on all this pattern. So this is all about Bluetooth. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Thank you.
Moving on to our next topic, that is PANS, a personal area network.
Personal area network is a computer network organized around an individual for personal use only. They typically involve a computer, phone, printer, tablet, or some other devices like a PDA. PANs transmit the information between the devices that are nearby instead of sending that same data through a LAN or a WAN before it reaches something that's already within the reach. You can use these networks to transfer the files including the emails, calendar appointments, photos and music if you do the transfer wirelessly, for example using the Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. Computer network is a set of interconnected computers where the interconnection is established in an aim of communication between the computers or devices to share the resources, data and application. There exist different types of computer networks which are designed to operate over the area they cover, and as per the network requirements, service type, network coverage, these areas are classified. That is, you can classify all these network areas based on the network requirements, the service type, the network coverage that it covers and the area. So the personal area networks, that is a PAN, is a computer network that connects to the computers or devices within the range of an individual person. As the PAN provides network range within a person's range, typically within the range of 10 meters or 33 feet to be specific, it is called as a personal area network. A personal area network typically involves a computer, phone, tablet, printer or the PDAs as we already saw, and the other entertainment devices like the speakers, video game consoles, etc. Thomas Zimmerman and the other researchers at MIT's, that is the MIT's Media Lab, first developed the concept of PAN. It is a very useful in home, offices and small network areas due to its high performance in the terms of flexibility and efficiency. A PAN network can either be a wired network or a wireless network. Wired connection methods include the USB and the FireWire, whereas the wireless connection method includes the Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, IRDA and the ZigBee. While the devices within a PAN can exchange their data with each other, PANs typically do not include a router and thus do not connect to the internet directly. Here the devices are connected to each other, they are not directly connected to the internet because we do not have a router in this. A device within a PAN, however, can be connected to a local area network. So we can connect a PAN, that is a device in a PAN, to a LAN that then connects to the internet further. So a LAN is connected to the internet and one of our devices in PAN is connected to this LAN. So indirectly this is how the internet is connected to our PAN. For instance, that is, for example, say a desktop computer, a wireless mouse and a wireless headphones can all be connected to each other, but not only the computer can connect directly to the internet. There are, as I already said, there are two types of PANs available, that is the personal area networks. Personal area networks can be those types can be explained as wireless PANs. So a wireless PAN, that is WPAN, is connected through the signals such as the infrared, ZigBee, Bluetooth and ultra-wideband. Whereas a wired PAN is connected through the cables such as the FireWire or a USB. A personal area network connects the electronic devices within a user's intermediate area. The size of a PAN ranges from a few centimeter to a few meter, hence this will cover, as it is already said, that it covers into a particular area only, into by the reach of a particular person only. So it will cover the area from a few centimeters to a few meters. One of the most common real world example of a PAN is the connection between a Bluetooth earpiece and a smartphone. So when you connect your Bluetooth earpiece to your smartphone, it creates a PAN. PAN can also connect the laptops, tablets, printers, keyboard and the other computerized devices. PAN network connection can be both wired and wireless. So while the devices within a PAN can exchange the data with each other, PANs typically do not connect to a router and hence the internet. So these are some of the advantages and disadvantages of PAN. That advantages include that PAN is relatively flexible and it provides high efficiency for short network range. It needs easy setup and relatively low cost. It does not require frequent installations and maintenance because typically we are connecting the two devices that we already have. And so it is flexible and it provides a high efficiency, but it will provide only for a short range. It needs less technical skills to use. I mean, you don't need to be a master of technical skills for using a PAN. But related to this, there are some disadvantages also. Low network coverage area. Because a PAN is covering, I mean, it is only accessible to from a few centimeters to a few meters, it will only cover a short range of area. It is limited to relatively low data rates. That is, the data transfer rate that is associated with a PAN is very low. Devices are not compatible with each other. There may be a possibility that the devices that we want to connect in a PAN, they won't be compatible to each other. That is, they won't be able to connect to each other. Then it can be a possibility that you cannot create a particular PAN. And inbuilt WPANs devices are a little bit costly. Some of the devices that we have, wherein we have an inbuilt wireless PAN so that we can connect those devices, they are a bit costly to use. So these are some of the disadvantages of PAN. Now this is all about a personal area network. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Thank you.